I open a special joint meeting and call the parish council meeting to order.
Call the city council meeting to order.
All right, we welcome you to a special joint meeting of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council. As presiding officer and chair, I'd like to announce the following. This is a public hearing. To address the council on any item on this agenda, please fill out the speaker form and submit it to the clerk prior to the call of the agenda item, or you will not be given that opportunity to speak. Staff assistance is available if needed. Items for submission to the council should be handed to Council Clerk Ms. Veronica Williams, who's seated all the way to my left. When addressing the council, state your name and title for the official record. There is a 5-minute rule that will be in effect. There will be no debating or confrontational statements that will be allowed. The front row to my left is used for media only. Food and drinks are not allowed in the auditorium, and ask that you please silence all cell phone devices or electronic devices. Meeting procedures here tonight are by resolution and not by Robert's Rules of Order. All documents with reference to meetings can be found on the LCG website. And finally, the council encourages your involvement in boards or commissions. If you're interested, please call 291-8800, 291-8800. Moving to chair announcements. Due to election day requirements, the council meetings for November and December will be as followed. It will be the first and third Wednesdays of each month instead of the typical first and third Tuesdays. That don't sound right. Is that a typo? That's right. So we're going to go to the first and third on the Wednesdays instead of the first and third Tuesdays, and that's for November and December. Councilman Glenn Lazard, City District 5, is absent this evening. Nanette Cook, City District 4, is out due to an illness. And lastly, I'd like to wish happy birthday to Laurie Toops, our Chief Financial Officer. She will be celebrating October 15th. Happy birthday. This is a special joint meeting of the Lafayette Parish Council and Lafayette City Council. At times during the meeting, I will defer to my City Council Chair to preside over City Council matters. I don't have any chair announcements from the parish. Do you have any for the city? None for the city.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to announce for the seated public and the viewing public as well, that for those waiting for the joint meeting that will follow this meeting and the city council meeting, those meetings for tonight will be canceled, have to be canceled, because we will not have a quorum. Due to sudden illnesses, we will not have a quorum by the time that meeting comes. We do have 3 seated now, but it's temporary. So if you are here for the special joint meeting after the parish council meeting and the city council meeting, we will postpone those meetings. We will not have them.
Okay.
All those items will be scheduled for the next meeting. Good question. October 20th.
So the next time the city council meeting will be October 20th.
October 20th.
Yeah. And again, that's due to Mr. Nanette Cook being ill and Mr. Glenn Lazard being out. So on the city council, you have council members of 5, and you have to have at least a quorum. And all right. Now we will move to the vetoed ordinance. Regarding the line item vetoes under budget ordinance joint -073 2020, that's JO, sorry about that, JO-073 2020. I will ask Cindy to read the item. I will then call for a motion from the council to override the veto. Then the city council chair, Pat Lewis, will ask for a motion from the city council to override the veto. Per the charter, a 2/3 vote is needed to override a veto, which means 4 votes are needed by each council. Cindy, please read.
The Lafayette Mayor President on Friday, September 25th, 2020, returned ordinance number Joint Ordinance 73, 2020, with 1 line item vetoed and has provided a statement of explanation, which has been published in the official journal on Friday, October 2nd, 2020. In accordance with Section 2-13C of the Lafayette City-Parish Consolidated Government Home Rule Charter, veto ordinances shall be submitted to the Lafayette Parish Council no later than the next regular meeting held after publication of veto statement. Also, in accordance with Section 2-13B of the Lafayette City-Parish Consolidated Government Home Rule Charter, all ordinances vetoed by the Lafayette Mayor President shall be vetoed in full, except that the Lafayette Mayor President shall have authority to veto individual appropriation items and the ordinances adopting the operating and capital improvement budgets and amendments thereto. Joint Ordinance 73, 2020, a joint ordinance of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council adopting and operating a 5-year capital improvement budget of revenues and expenditures for the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government for the fiscal year beginning November 1st, 2020 and ending October 31st, 2021. Accordingly, the following amendment with reference to Joint Ordinance 73, 2020 has been submitted for council reconsideration. Veto number 1, delete new general amendment number 31, Lazard, to remove any raises that are proposed in the 2020-2021 budget for the mayor president's office.
Okay, I need a motion and a second from the parish council to consider. Do I have
A motion, it should be a motion to override the
Do I
veto
have a
from
motion
each.
to override? To override the veto. Got a motion and a second. Yeah. Any motion and a second?
I think you put them to do it.
Got a motion by AB.
Legal is suggesting that you guys go through the process.
You got to go through the process.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so, we got a motion by AB and a motion by Councilman Brian Tabor to override.
That's
Yeah, I
the-
need a motion and a second to override from the city. Motion by Ms. Hebert, second by Mr. Nakane.
Okay. Council discussion? Council discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Williams, any public comment?
Yes, sir, we do have two speakers, the first of which is Jamal Taylor, followed by Tara Laxey, right? Fogelman.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We find ourselves at the same place we have found ourselves a lot in this city. I'm not necessarily sure where we constantly find ourselves on the precipice of a veto and raises for people that don't necessarily need them in the financial crisis that we claimed would cause all kind of havoc in the city. But we find ourselves there nonetheless, in a place where it seems the city more inclined to deny the raises than the parish, and people looking around like they don't want to second the motion to override a veto. At some point, we have to decide if we're going to be the legislative branch of government or not. But more importantly, we have to decide if we are going to be better than we have been. You see, we have been on the national news a number of times, and we haven't gotten any awards in those articles. The surprising thing, though, is that it seems that we are continuing to do business as usual. Make no mistake that we will continue to protest. We will continue to march. Every time we have operated in good faith with this administration, with this government, we find behaviors inconsistent with people elected to serve the interests of the people that they serve. At some point, we must realize that there are people in our community hurting. There are businesses that are closing. A few months ago, people were saying we were going to be bankrupt, yet we are trying to give raises. What a novel idea. Every time we find ourselves on the precipice of good decision-making, there's a veto. When I think there's a glimmer of hope in this city, I find myself embroiled in or watching with my very eyes people operating the government in a rough, reckless manner that invites people to question the very interests of certain communities or pieces of our community. On the parish side, Mr. Rubin has consistently fought for people where I see other council members just sitting there looking like, should we override a veto? I don't know if this city thinks we can continue on the way that we have, but let me give you a historical lesson, and I said this in a particular person's office. Lafayette didn't really have a civil rights movement. Y'all found yourself in the middle of the first one. Make no mistake, and I want to say this again, that we will continue to march, we will continue to protest, we will continue our civil disobedience until such time that this government finds itself in the posture to lead for all people, or that this government decides to separate itself. It doesn't seem like we have an issue on the city side. It seems that we are able to find some reasonability on the city side. But every time I look to the parish side, I find issue and problem with it. There's always some look around like, whose responsibility is this? If you didn't run to represent people, get off the pot. Folks, I don't know what you all are waiting on. I don't know if you all think that this frustration from people is just going to simply go away. And I don't want you to think that I have any individual hatred for anybody. It's just not the makeup of my character. Wasn't raised that way. I'll speak to you. I'll talk to you. But when it comes to the function and responsibility of the people in this government, you need to do your jobs. You need to realize that on one side of this joint government, we are letting a mayor get away with some behaviors that I find reckless and troubling. And we've tried to work in concert, and I will continue to try to work in concert. However, that does not mean that the excuses and sorriers that keep getting sorrier and sorrier will continue. We are comfortable doing what we need to do to help you all to realize that something needs to happen. We don't act violently, we don't rob, we don't support looting, but we will engage in civil disobedience. We will engage in protesting, even through the hatred that I have seen on KLFY and KATC. What this council should be worried about is trying to find some way to deal with the racial issues that exist in this city, where people are allowed on KLFY and KATC to say words like nigger and coon and run them over with your car. There's a problem in this city, folks. And the protesters didn't bring it. Find some solutions, find some answers, and do the right thing with this government.
Next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Tara Fogelman.
Good evening, Tara Fogelman, Laxey, Unity 7. In regards to the pay raises for the mayor, parish, president's office, his staff, you know, we were told for months, one of the reasons why our rec centers were going to be closed was because, you know, of COVID and the budget, money wasn't there, so forth and so on. We still do not have all of the, 37 plus 100, 139 employees rehired full-time. And for a request in pay raises for certain people in our mayor's office, it's a slap in the face whenever it comes to our everyday, hardworking community who was let go, who worked for our city. I don't believe that they deserve pay raises. One in particular person, if he is included, he damn sure does not deserve his $10,000. By a nod, does that include Carlos Harvin? Thank you. What has he done to deserve his extra $10,000? Because every time we call him and we ask him a question, he doesn't know anything. He's not aware of anything whatsoever. He, unfortunately, is the delusional puppet of Josh Guillory. So I do not support the pay raises. Thank you. Definitely not Carlos's. He doesn't even deserve his title. He has not bridged the gap. He is simply a puppet that we laugh at as a community. And I know that I don't want my tax dollars paying Carlos's extra $10,000. I don't even want my tax dollars paying his $50,000. So, again, you haven't hired back everyone that you fired with Park and Recreations who worked for consolidated government. Some are full-time and back, some are part-time and back, but you have not rehired the whole 139 employees. Y'all don't deserve the extra money. Not what's going on here. You pick and choose when you want to talk. You pick and choose who you want to help. And we don't friendly bop here anymore. You will continue having your protest. We will be stomping our feet, raising our voices until all of you on this council, not just a select few, hear us, but whenever all of you hear us, we will not stop you will treat us fairly. You will treat all those employees fairly. And the ones in the higher seat, they need to stand down and stand by because we're not ready for them to have extra money that's undeserving.
Okay, next speaker.
No further speakers, but we did have 4 citizens who did not wish to speak, who supports the override of the veto.
Okay. All right, we need to call the vote from each council to override.
Clarify the yes, no vote.
Okay, so, Paul, just for clarification, if I'm reading this right, a yes vote overrides the veto, a no vote doesn't.
That's correct. If you vote no, the veto stands.
Right. Okay,
Vote no, the veto.
if you vote no,
What that means for the.
you mean you're supporting the veto.
In other words, if you vote no, the veto stands and the raises go back in the budget.
Right. Okay. All right, call the vote from each council to override veto item number 1.
District 1,
No.
Parish District 2,
Yes.
Parish District 3,
No.
Parish District 4,
No.
Par-
Wait a minute. No.
Parish District 4,
I was voting for you, my bad. No.
Parish District 4,
John?
No.
Okay, no.
Parish District 5.
No.
The motion to override fails
Hold up.
For the parish.
for the parish. City District 1,
Yes.
City District 2,
No.
City District 3,
Yes.
City District 4,
I wanted to say yes.
City District 5.
Oh, absent.
The motion to override fails for the city.
Okay, so that means that the raises will go into effect. All right. Please read introductory ordinance. Cindy?
Joint Ordinance 93, 2020, a joint ordinance of the Lafayette City Council and the Lafayette Parish Council, amending the fiscal year 2021 operating budget of the Lafayette City-Parish Consolidated Government and authorizing the administration to implement a 2% general pay increase for all full-time classified and unclassified employees, as well as eligible employees and officials.
Okay, you have here comments from the public goes first, or do I get a motion in a second?
A motion and a second.
Okay, motion and a second from the parish council. Motion by Tabor, second by Councilman Carlson.
City. Motion by Mr. Notkin, second by Ms. Hebert.
Okay. Paul, I got a question. In here, it says employees and officials. I can't speak for nobody else, but as a council member, I sure in the hell don't want a 2% increase. So is that reading what I'm seeing here, or is that, what is classified, unclassified employees, as well as eligible employees and officials? Who's the officials?
It might be a question more appropriate for the CFO, because
Yeah, Laura.
I did not
Okay.
draft the ordinance.
Oh, you didn't draft the ordinance? Thank you.
No, sir.
Mayor President, go ahead, sir.
My recommendation would be to refuse as an official, because we're in this term. For example, if that covers an increase for me, I'll refuse it. I think we'd have to budget it in, but it doesn't mean, correct me if I'm wrong, legal, but we can choose to not accept it individually. Is that correct? Okay. So
All right, so we don't need to amend it or anything. We
that's my
just
understanding.
No, and I think the ordinance that was originally adopted, and maybe Lori recalls, but I think elected officials specifically were excluded from receiving the general increases, the 2%.
Right. So I want to make sure that the media's got the camera on and everybody's right here.
Right.
That is
Yeah.
very clear that this introductory ordinance would be for the employees, not to include the
And Mr. Chair,
council.
because it's intro, we have 2 weeks to amend it, so that way we can.
Right.
So
further
we can clarify to make
There we
sure
go.
it's concrete. But as a unit right here,
Yeah.
we're letting the public know this is not about us that wants to introduce the 2%. This is about the employees, not about the council members or the mayor president or administration, none of that. Just to make clear. Any questions?
Right here.
Well, for Councilwoman Hebert.
Thank you, Chairman. Will the people the council members who approved this, will they be included in this 2% raise?
Not council members, you mean the employees?
I'm sorry, thank you. I'm listening to you.
Don't listen to me too much.
Don't, I do it once.
I hear you.
The employees that were approved in your veto, are they included in this 2% raise?
No.
They are not?
Yeah, they're actually specifically excluded.
They're specifically excluded, okay.
Okay, so they're not getting a double dip? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, that's
So
all.
that might have to be amended in the next ordinance, or is it identified in
This
the
one I
ordinance?
know is identified,
It's not,
and
that's what I thought.
but we'll
It'll
double
have-
check since we have 2
Yeah.
weeks.
Okay.
I'd like to
Thank you.
double check and just get someone, just show me line item, this is where they're specifically, and then we need to.
It's in the ordinance.
Can we clarify, Paul? I know you're reading it right now. Yeah. We're all on the same page in the intent. I just want to make sure, if we can clarify tonight that it's. So nothing in the ordinance is specifically mentioned about those four. So we need to amend it, or somebody needs to offer an amendment to exclude the four that just recently got it, because the veto
And
didn't
we
get
can do it
override.
at final, because if we need to exclude the elected officials as well, or any others,
Okay, legal, you good with that?
Well, I tell you what, in efforts to keep this meeting moving, I'd like to see in time for final, to see the breakdown of the who is excluded and who is included
Okay.
in this, a complete breakdown of that, if you don't mind presenting that to both councils. And I'm going to encourage my fellow council members to not support this. As you saw, I did not support the last pay raise, and I didn't want to speak into that because we've spoken about that in the ground during budget, so you know how I feel about those. I feel like now is not the time for us to be handing out raises using taxpayer funds at this time. There are too many people in this community who have lost their jobs, are being furloughed, and just in my opinion, now, this year is not the year to be doing that. We have businesses closing left and right, and for us to use taxpayer dollars to give raises, whether they're deserving or not, in your opinion, it doesn't matter. To me, it feels like this is not the year to be doing so. I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep putting my back to you. So I think for me, I'm encouraging you to not support this, but vote with your conscience. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Lewis, you have the floor, sir.
Okay, right now, all we're doing is voting to move this along, correct? It's not to, just introductory. So however we vote, I think we really need to vote to make sure it goes into final adoption. That way we can make sure that we come up with the right decision. Because I know there will be continue on being some more discussion and some amendments.
Okay, thank you, sir. Councilman Andy Nakane.
In reading the ordinance, there are some things in there I think that are pertinent. In particular, it's not giving raises to first-time fire and police that are just being hired, new hirees. It looks like the state mandated 2% for the firemen is going to be all they're going to get is a state mandated 2%. Am I reading that correct?
Right, the intent is to.
In other words, they're not going to get 2% plus 2%.
That's correct.
For the fire department. They're going to get their state mandated 2%. This is to take care of those people who are hourly or salaried employees to get their 2% cost of living net pay increase for those that don't have it yet, don't have anything, except for the starting salary for fire and police. There also, you have to remember, there are fire officials who don't get a pay raise, and they aren't getting this either. So that's all included in there. As far as for the elected officials, in the past, I've excluded myself from any cost of living increase, and we can still do that. That's not a problem. That's easily to do with the HR department, and I intend on doing that as well. The mayor, president, I'm sure quite a few other people here are going to be doing that also. So I'm for moving this forward. I think it's a good thing to help these people out as they need it. So I just urge everybody to vote for introducing this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mayor President?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and also to the council members, just as one of our neighbors pointed out, a lot of former LCG employees have not been rehired, and we do have a lot of people left that wake up every single day, through a pandemic, through hurricanes, through storms, that give 110%. Even right now, as we're preparing for a storm that's about to hit us, these guys are going to wake up tomorrow morning and give it their all. LUS workers, fiber workers, first responders. I mean, I can go down each department, but every department has fewer people in their department doing more with less. I think that is warranted. We cut $29 million out of this budget. 28.9 if you want to be correct. We have been very fiscally responsible, but our number one asset is our people. And the people that we have executing that budget that you approved, we need to take care of them.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I
Councilman?
just wanted to reiterate what the mayor president said. I personally spoke with linemen out there after Laura that had been on duty with no sleep for 24 hours working, trying to restore power. Those people have lost this. So these are dedicated employees that are getting this raise. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Councilman Rubin?
I'm also in agreement. I feel to believe that these people work hard, and I really feel to believe that they deserve this 2% raise. So that's my opinion. I would like for the councilman, the rest of my colleagues to let this go to the second portion.
All right. Thank you so much. That ends council discussion. Ms. Williams, any public comment?
Yes, we do. 10 citizens who did not wish to speak signed in to support the ordinance. 1 citizen signed in, did not wish to speak in opposition. We do have 1 speaker, Jamal Taylor.
Hi, I'm a new visitor to the city council today. Jamal Taylor. So, Councilman Nakhan, I'm definitely not concerned about your 2% cost of living increase. City council members getting an increase doesn't bother me one bit. The fire department getting an increase doesn't bother me one bit. What does bother me, though, is this 2% cost of dying increase we're giving to the police department that has shown time and time again that they will shoot somebody 10 times in the back, that they will beat kids in the street, that they will continuously mishandle situations, they will put officers on the top of roofs with sniper rifles, they will treat us like criminals, there are consistent complaints, there needs to be an FBI investigation because I feel like they act like an organized crime syndicate. And so I'm not really concerned about the 2% for those groups of people, Councilman Rubin, that deserve them. I think that that 2% that y'all are thinking about giving to the police department pales in comparison to the amount of training that they need to have, because they're clearly woefully unprepared for the jobs that they've undertaken. And I will just chalk it up to bad leadership. And I would even say, to the mayor president's credit, though I think that some of this is facilitated and has continued, he should have fired the chief of police a long time ago. But I think he found many of the cancerous problems that exist in our police department. Again, these problems are not new to this city. As I talk to people in my community, and I'm talking about the people that look like me, that have lived like me, not the people that get booed by the community because they so loud, or that they're sent to act like a secretary to the black community. I would challenge this council as I think about this 2% raise. You got $50,000 plus some insurance money you can utilize to fill some of that 2% if you want to pay some people some more money. I think you just remove the salary for the chief of minority affairs from the budget. That'll help this 2% to find money for other people, because every time I've come here, certain people come up. It's either the police department or Carlos Harvin. And so I don't support pay raises for people that aren't doing the will of the people. I don't support pay raises for people that have consistently made us look bad. Now, I agree with Councilman Rubin that there are some really hard-working employees in this parish, but there are some even more pervasive problems. If you saw on CNN, MSNBC, the Washington Post, the New York Times, that our police officer beat a 16-year-old child in the head, I wouldn't be running around trying to give them raises. But par for the course. I hope that the voters take notice of these individuals that vote for this without separating it. I think it should be pulled apart and voted on individually, such that we can determine who really deserves raises. Use that 2% that you were going to give the police department and include it for additional training on top of what they got in that $1 million. They need it desperately. So does this city. My old grandmother used to say, you're looking for trouble in the daytime with a flashlight. In this city, if we don't do something, we are going to find ourselves on the precipice of finding the trouble we're looking for with a flashlight. We gave raises to a bunch of people that make a bunch of money, and now we're talking about giving raises to the people that deserve it. I want to say I don't believe that all of our police officers are bad. I genuinely believe that. But until you can fix the problems in there, we shouldn't be giving raises. Folks, change has a considerable psychological impact on the human mind. To the fearful is threatening because things they might get worse. To the hopeful is encouraging because things they might get better. But to the confident, inspiring because a challenge exists to make things better. I would challenge you to get your head out of your proverbial behind and make the changes we need for this city to be better. Or just separate the city from the parish, and I think we won't have any more problems. Thank you.
Next speaker.
No other speakers.
Councilman Rubin.
Let me say this to you, Mr. Jamal. I understand, and everybody understands in the city, that we do have some issues that we need to address in the police department. And I'm not making an excuse or anything, but I do think that as a whole, we have been trying to address that, and I think I would like to defer to the mayor president and see if he would like to, don't laugh, man, don't laugh. Seriously, because we are trying to do some things, man, to better what you're addressing. If we don't address it and try to correct it, well, then we're going to always have this issue where you'll be sitting there laughing at what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So we have to seriously put some efforts forward to address what's going on in the police department. So, Mayor President, would you like to speak on the programs that's going to be going on with the police department?
Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate that. And we had a good conversation earlier today. And I agree. Look, the $1 million should be a start. And so I appreciate you saying that. And I do think it's in a step in the right direction. We can always get better. So I know our focus on dialogue by both councils and the public here recently about situational awareness, about de-escalation. We heard from one speaker, a couple months ago that we actually met with Ms. Jennifer there that was talking about emotional CPR, things I've never even heard of. You know, I know I'm not the expert, but I understand that we need to focus on this. So what I would like to do is not only proactively find programs to this regard, but have this discussion publicly. Have a town hall. Have the trainers that actually train talk to the public, get feedback. You know, we talk about community policing. We talk about community meetings that used to happen before a COVID world or whatever. No excuses regardless. We need to bring that back. Now, we're going to have a community meeting, it's my understanding, within a month. We're going to have the first community walk in a long time within a month. These are positive steps. And these are discussions that our neighbors continue to come to the podium, and I appreciate it very much, the feedback and the thoughts. But these are topics that are happening in these chambers or in this chamber and on the streets and in neighborhoods and at dining room tables that I know has not fallen on deaf ears, not to these councils and not to this administration. So those are my thoughts, but I really appreciate it, and we'll announce the town hall as soon as we have a schedule. So thank you, Councilman, and thank you for your continued support.
Okay. All right. All right, next speaker.
No other speakers.
All right. Please call the vote from each council to introduce the ordinance.
Parish District 2,
Yes.
Parish District 3,
No.
Parish District 4,
Yes.
Parish District 5, Parish District 5, Parish District 4,
Yes.
Parish District 5,
Yes.
Parish District 1,
Yes.
the motion to introduce from the Parish Council is approved. City District 2,
Yes.
City District 3,
No.
City District 1,
Yes.
the motion to introduce from the City Council fails.
With what? I didn't
So
hear.
that means the ordinance for introduction fails.
Okay, so it was passed on the parish side and failed on the city side.
But it does not move forward.
So it doesn't move forward, okay? All right.
Adjourn the city council meeting?
I'll join the special joint meeting in the parish council. And clear the board.